dream. Tonight's episode, Lady Killer, starring Leslie Nielsen, co-starring Martin Balsam, Robert Redford, with special guest star Anne Francis.
Who is it?
Rod Newton. I'm a friend of Vincent's.
We were in the same outfit together in Japan, the 48th Field Artillery. And I was in town here just passing through, and I decided to drop in.
Vincent is at work, and he does not come home until after 5.
Well, do you mind if I wait?
Come in, please.
And you're Noguchi?
We have met?
No, but I remember in Tokyo when you and Vinny were going together.
Truly? Please sit down.
Thank you. By any chance, would you have a cup of coffee?
The pot is on the stove. It will only take a minute to heat.
That's good.
I do not remember you. Older name. Newton? Rod Newton? But it is true. Several years have passed and one forgets. Yet, I knew most of his friends. I often visited the service club. Do you miss Japan?
Yes.
I do. Very much. Not that I do not like it here. What I have seen of America is beautiful. I can just see his face when he sees you. Where are you?
The attack on Noguchi Gladstone, a Japanese war bride, took place on Monday, March 6th in Woodland Hills, a peaceful suburb in Los Angeles' San Fernando Valley. Within minutes after receiving news of the crime, a number of police experts and newspaper reporters were on the scene. And at the request of the deputy chief of the Detective Bureau, several teams from the fluid commando-type Metropolitan Squad.
She had to come to this great peaceful country. How'd you die?
Heart attack as a result of a struggle. She seems to have had a rheumatic heart, Price. Couldn't take undue strain or shock.
What's the time of death?
Approximately between 1 and 5 p.m. today.
She wear a wedding ring?
Her husband says yes. It was probably stolen.
Say, didn't the exact same thing happen to a woman last month over in Topanga? Including her being tied up and gagged with her husband's neckties?
That's right. It was a Mrs. Dreyfus. The facts were the same, except Mrs. Dreyfus is alive, unharmed.
Yes, but she might not be if the mailman hadn't rung the doorbell at just the right moment.
Lieutenant, I'm Mel Rudderman from the Tribune. About that Dreyfus attack, you think it's the same guy?
We'll have to give you a statement later.
Right.
Joe, I'll want to talk to Mr. and Mrs. Dreyfus as soon as possible. Meanwhile, you better study up on all the reports available on the case. That the husband? Tell them they can take the body now. Excuse me. I'm Lieutenant Adams. You're the husband of the deceased? I'm very sorry, Mr. Gladstone.
Why her? Of all people, why her?
Do you have any idea who might have done it or why?
None. She was the sweetest, finest, gentlest, and most delicate.
You meet your wife in Japan?
Yes, I was stationed there.
Did you enjoy living here in this community?
Yes. What are you driving at, Lieutenant? You think there was trouble because I brought home a wife?
I don't know, was there?
Plenty of GIs married foreign girls. German, French, English.
Well?
There was some trouble at first. Right after we moved in. A few phone calls and a couple anonymous letters. Noguchi wanted to move to another area. You know, central L.A., Hollywood. Someplace where she might be less noticeable. But I don't believe in running away, Lieutenant. Besides, we liked our house here. The trees and hills. It was the only real argument we ever had.
At Los Angeles Police Headquarters, all pertinent facts on the murder were thoroughly sifted. Fingerprints were sent to Sacramento and Washington. And by morning, a statewide manhunt was underway.
Teletype to all stations. Make careful check of files to ascertain all cases where man gains entry, attacks woman, ties her up with husband's neckties, and steals wedding band. Also make careful check of pawnbrokers, second-hand gold dealers for 2 wedding rings, one belonging to a Mrs. Noguchi Gladstone. N-O-G-U-C-H-I, Gladstone. Second one belonging to Mrs. Norma Dreyfus. Both inscribed with their initials. What do you got, Vince?
Blank. Our boy's Lily White. Never even been booked, according to Washington.
That's great. He's no novice. Had that whole area covered last night, and he still slipped through.
Odds are he's a loner.
And a psychotic. But there's got to be a key to it. Why, for instance, does he bind the woman with the husband's neckties? Or why does he steal only wedding rings? Nothing else.
If rape was the motive, he's failed in both cases.
I don't think he intended to kill Noguchi Gladstone. When it happened, that's what scared him away. And with Norma Dreyfus, we definitely know he was scared away.
You think they were the only women he's attacked?
Hard to say. A case like this, at this stage, it can go anywhere. Vince, get a hold of Joe down in SID. Will you have him pick up Mr. and Mrs. Dreyfus and bring them here right away?
Hey, Price, you see the headlines? They sure pressed the panic button.
As is usually the case in big dramatic crimes, informants started calling in with information soon after the morning papers appeared.
Yes. Your name, please. All right, then. Where are you? I can guarantee complete privacy, madam. If you have any information, anything at all,
All right. Thank you. Just tell him I called.
Who are you talking to?
I was calling the doctor. I haven't been feeling well lately. I didn't want you to worry.
What doctor? What's his name?
What do you mean, what doctor? Our doctor, Dr. Petrie.
Really? I'll call him.
That won't be necessary.
Why not?
He's not in yet.
I didn't think so. I don't think you were calling the doctor. I think it was someone else.
Who?
Like someone from your bohemian past.
What are you talking about?
I think you've been seeing one of your artist friends on the sly.
You're out of your mind.
And what about you? Last couple of weeks, you've been acting like a case history. You've been jumpy, nervous, and secretive. Now, look, Phyllis, I've got too much on my mind to put up with this nonsense.
Yes, I know. You're a very busy, very successful man.
And you sound like you resent it. You know, you lead a good life because I'm a very successful man.
I never asked for your good life.
Or maybe you'd rather go back to that drunk you were married to. Live in some rat-infested dive near the pier. That's a nice place for your kid.
You leave Johnny out of this.
Is he the reason why you married me?
I married you because I loved you.
Past tense?
Present tense.
And what do you have to go to town every day? To these galleries and arranging these art shows to sell your paintings. You act as if you're starving. Don't I give you enough?
Of course you do. It's just...
What are you afraid of?
Nothing. Frank,
Phyllis, why don't you give up this art business once and for all?
why? What for?
Because I don't like these characters you're hanging around with.
You liked the way they talked. You liked the way they acted. You liked me because I was an artist and because I wanted to do something more with my life besides just vegetate. I was exciting to you once, Frank.
And I was security for you, wasn't I?
What kind of security are you when you're away all the time?
Business, Phyllis, business.
Frank, do you have to go tonight?
You know I have to. I'll be back the day after tomorrow.
Suppose I should say, please don't go away this time?
Then I'd say, who was that on the phone before?
I told you, Dr. Petrie. Frank? Aren't you going to drop me off at the gallery?
It's too late, Phyllis.
Is it, Frank?
While Phyllis and Frank Eberhardt were reaching a critical point in their marriage, Price Adams had begun to question Mr. and Mrs. Alfred Dreyfus.
No, sir, I've seen all of these. He was good looking.
Why do you think she let him in?
I let him in, I told you, because he said he was a friend of yours from San Diego. The way he talked, he did seem to know everything about you. What business you were in. About us. Everything about us.
Mr. Dreyfus, do you know anyone who fits the description your wife just gave? Either in San Diego or anywhere else?
Nope.
Business associate? Friend? I'm sure you know many people, but we're interested in someone who would know pertinent details about you.
Like pertinent details about our relationship?
What pertinent details?
Like the fact that we never even talk to each other when we're alone? Did you know that, Lieutenant?
This young fellow, he might have been a perfect stranger whom you talked to only once. Sometimes we tell strangers things we'd never tell our friends.
Well, no.
You're about to say something, Mr. Dreyfus?
Well, yes, there was this guy, hitchhiker, but it couldn't be him.
A hitchhiker? Tell us about him. Where'd you pick him up?
Well, it was near Riverside. I was coming back in from Palm Springs. That was early in February. Remember, Norma, I went down there for the weekend to look at some property.
What did he look like?
He's nice looking, sort of a college type. Quiet, soft-spoken, if I remember right, and tall, blondish, sort of.
That's him.
Mr. Dreyfus, did you give him your address?
Oh. Yes, well, he insisted. Well, you see, I bought him a meal, and he insisted on paying me back. He said he wanted to send me a present. Or something.
Excuse me. Get me Vincent Gladstone, please.
Metropolitan Squad, Officer Huddleston speaking. Yes?
Mr. Gladstone, Lieutenant Adams, tell me, did you pick up a hitchhiker recently in the last month or so? Now, think carefully. This is important.
Well, yes, I did. I went up to Santa Barbara last month to visit my mother. I picked up this fellow coming back down.
What do you look like?
Oh, a young fellow. A college student, I think he said. Yes, he was in his last year of pre-med. He said he was in the Army about the same time I was. We talked a lot about Japan. I told him I married a girl from there.
Did you give him your address?
Yes, He said if he ever came into L.A., he'd like to look me up. Do you think he could?
It looks possible. Mr. Gladstone, could you come down here right away?
Yeah, sure.
Good. I'll have one of my men pick you up.
That call was from the Salinas police. A couple named Ferguson turned up to the local station, reported an attack after hearing the news on the radio. Attack was last December. Pete's on his way up there now.
Some woman called on the phone before. Wouldn't leave her name. Sounded like she knew something, but she hung up.
Price.
Now, a series of crimes, which until that morning had remained hidden, began to open up and emerge into view. Other women who had kept silent out of shame and embarrassment began to come forward. The new victims and witnesses who began to appear all confirmed the modus operandi of the criminal.
All right. This is what we know so far. He's a hitchhiker. He travels alone. He makes contact with the housewives through their unsuspecting husbands. He depends on fear of exposure and shame to keep the women and the men from reporting the crime. Orders from Captain Gregory. Metro will be on a 24-hour round-the-clock duty. All leaves and days off are canceled, effective immediately. This order will remain in force until the hitchhike murderer is apprehended.
Wednesday, March 8th, the squad room of the Metropolitan Group began to take on the appearance of a regimental headquarters during a major military campaign. Reports of similar crimes had been received and were being investigated throughout the state.
Adam speaking.
Vince Price. Further report from Charles and Ethel Ferguson up here in Salinas. Attack on Mrs. Ferguson verified. Time about 2 p.m., December 15th. The attacker was admitted in the usual manner. Another point. Mrs. Ferguson detected a definite New England or Boston accent.
Boston. Good. Thanks, Vince. Let's keep checking. If you come up with something else, let me know immediately.
Right.
Joe? Check the Massachusetts State Police, also Boston. See if they have anything on a guy with the same MO as our boy. Also check a couple of the colleges. Boston U, Harvard. For any student who's left in the past year or so. Especially due to misconduct. Got to try everything.
Right.
Come on now, Johnny. That bus isn't going to wait forever. Here, let me do that.
You wave to the driver. Eddie won't go to school without me. You've been crying.
No, why do you say that, Johnny?
Your eyes are all red.
Oh, I just didn't sleep very well last night. Come on.
Have a good day in school now, you hear?
I will, Mommy. Goodbye.
Fill it up, please. Operator, I want the police.
Adam speaking.
I called yesterday. I hung up. Well, never mind what my name is.
Are you a victim?
Yes.
What did he look like?
Well, he was about 6 feet tall, about 170 pounds. He had reddish blonde hair and blue eyes. 2 moles on his right cheek.
Well, that's very exact. Do you have a photographic memory?
No, sir. I'm an artist. I've been trained to observe.
An artist? Listen, I must see you.
What if somebody finds out? My husband.
You have my word, madam. Now, what is the address?
No, you can't come to the house.
All right, then you drive?
Yes?
You know where the Malibu fish shanty is?
Yes?
I'll meet you there in 45 minutes.
Oh, all right.
I'm Lieutenant Adams.
Sit down. I almost didn't come here, Lieutenant. I almost turned back. I don't want to talk about what happened.
I can understand that, Mrs.
Eberhard, Phyllis Eberhard. You don't understand. You just go around trying to find criminals and arrest them. You don't know what happens to their victims.
Well, that's not quite true, Mrs. Eberhard.
Do you know what my husband would do if he found out what happened? He'd divorce me. I've been through one divorce, Lieutenant. I can't go through another. I have a son. What's that?
If we had a likeness of the man who attacked you, Mrs. Eberhard, and who attacked Mrs. Gladstone, it would help us enormously.
What makes you think that I...
You're an artist, Mrs. Eberhard. The way you described him on the telephone, it indicated that you're trained not only to see, but to remember. Please, try. It's very important. I noticed you don't wear a wedding band.
He took it.
How did he act when he first came in?
He said he was one of Frank's salesmen. He seemed to know a lot about Frank and his business. He was well-mannered, intelligent. He showed a real interest and understanding in my work.
You showed him your painting?
He asked to see them. He said he'd studied art before he switched to pre-med. I even invited him to dinner. I remember I was looking forward to it. Frank and I had been at each other's throats so much. I was lonely to talk to anyone.
Well, that's only natural.
I didn't mean that, Lieutenant. I love my husband.
Well, I'm sure you do, Mrs. Eberhard. Why don't you trust him?
Why doesn't he trust me? I told you, he divorced me.
Would he?
I can't chance finding out. How's that?
That's perfect. I know how difficult this has been for you, Mrs. Eberhard. If there's ever anything I can do for you, please don't hesitate to call me.
Lieutenant, you think I was wrong not to have told Frank?
Trust breeds trust, Mrs. Eberhard.
The sketch made by Phyllis Eberhard was confirmed by witnesses as an excellent likeness of the hitchhiker. It was given to newspapers, reproduced, and distributed from one end of the state to the other.
Hey, Bud, if you want that cup of coffee, you better hurry.
Don't forget, I'm only going as far as El Centro. If you want to make Palm Springs by tonight, you'll have to get another hitch.
By the following afternoon, Thursday, March 9th, 3 days after the death of Noguchi Gladstone, a deep weariness had set in among the members of the Metropolitan Squad.
You tell your editor we'd like more information, too.
It's a report from the Boston police. Attack on a woman last October in Waltham, nearby community. She was tied up with her husband's neckties, wedding ring stolen, attacker still unknown.
Case is still open. What about those colleges you contacted?
Well, several first-year students dropped out of the Boston Medical School last fall. I've got their names if you want to see them.
Send copies of his pictures to all the colleges and medical schools in that area. See it gets a wide as possible circulation throughout the Northeast.
It's done.
Good, Joe. Now just tell me where he is.
Can't tell you that, Price. But I can tell you the area in which he's operating, the direction in which he's traveling. Now, our records show that he's been traveling from the Monterey Salinas area down the coast, through Los Angeles to San Diego. Then he turns east and goes through the desert to El Centro, and back north through Indio, Palm Springs, Mojave, Bakersfield, Fresno, and probably back to Salinas.
So he's traveling in a counterclockwise direction through these cities, making a complete circuit once every 3 weeks.
Right.
Adam speaking.
Cavelli, Price. We're in West Covina. Just spoke to a Mr. Addison Andrews and his wife. Andrews said he picked up our boy in Oceanside on January 18th. But get this, Price. There was no, I repeat, no attack on Mrs. Andrews.
That's strange. Describe the couple, Ben.
Young, fun-loving. Just got back from their honeymoon in December. Looks to me like they're still on it.
All right, thanks, Vince. Keep checking.
Good. There's the San Diego police. Man reported taking a hitchhiker answering to our man's description down from Laguna yesterday. They stopped at a diner 2 miles past San Diego on the way to El Centro, and our boy disappeared.
And according to your description of his movements, he's going to pass through El Centro and Indio and Palm Springs, right?
Right. This report confirms it.
Teletype, all stations, El Centro, Indio, Palm Springs. Be on the alert for a man answering description of hitchhiker, wanted for murder and assault, L.A. police. Believed to be in your vicinity at present.
No, thanks. I've had enough.
Frank, I want to tell you something.
What?
The reason I've been acting strange lately is I was attacked.
Attacked?
This fellow came in. Said he knew you. He didn't look like a criminal.
What do you mean, attacked?
He tied my hands and my feet with your neckties. He gagged me. He took my wedding ring.
What did he do to you?
Must I say it?
Why didn't you tell me?
I couldn't.
So that's where your wedding ring went. He took it. Well, why not? What does it mean? What do you need a wedding ring for anyway? Just one more lie?
Frank. It was hard enough telling you. Please don't make it more difficult.
Well, what do you want, a medal?
Frank, look, I understand how you feel. But please try to understand how I feel. It happened to me.
I know, Phyllis. You told me. You told me it happened to you. How could it have not happened to you?
What do you mean?
Well, the way you walk. The look on your face. The minute he walked in here, he knew he had a setup.
Johnny! Come on in now, we're leaving.
Okay, Mom. I'm just practicing. I'll be in a minute.
Operator, I want the Los Angeles police. I want the Metropolitan Squad. Lieutenant Adams, please.
Metro, Lieutenant Adams speaking.
Lieutenant Adams, this is Phyllis Eberhardt. I just want to say thanks. Just thanks for all you've done.
Hello? Hello, Mrs. Eberhardt. Just take a ride out to Malibu.
And now, back to the new breed. While Price Adams was driving to Malibu, his elusive quarry was sneaking a ride outside of Newport Beach.
Hey, Steve, look what we got here. Come on out here, yo. Who are you? What are you doing in there?
Well, I'm sleeping. Look, fellas, I'm sorry if I did anything to inconvenience you. But you see, I'm on my way up to Berkeley. I'm a student there. What happened is I went down to Caliente for the races, lost my shirt. So I have to be back there on Monday for classes, so I crawled in here. I'm sorry. Would you like a cigarette?
No.
That's all I've got. I guess the highway isn't too far from here. Where is it, over?
No, over that way. Half a mile.
Okay. Thank you. Goodbye.
Come on, let's get this furniture unloaded.
Frank Eberhardt.
That's right.
I'm Lieutenant Adams, LAPD. This is Officer Huddleston. We'd like to see your wife, please.
She's not here.
Do you know where we can find her?
I don't know. She left.
Just a minute, Mr. Eberhardt. We received a call from your wife a short while ago. She sounded very upset. May I ask you what happened?
I don't think that's any of your concern, do you?
Perhaps it is. We know about the attack, Mr. Eberhardt.
Look, I don't want to talk about this.
My guess is she told you about it, you got upset, and there were words, and she walked out.
I hope I never see her again.
Because of what happened to her? Mr. Eberhardt, do you know who's responsible for what happened to her, for that attack on your wife?
No.
You.
What?
You recognize that man?
Oh, I picked him up last month. He said he was a student from Berkeley. He was hitchhiking down to L.A.
Your wife did that sketch.
What do you mean? Well, how could she...
Won't you read the papers?
Nothing but the sports page and the market reports.
Mr. Eberhardt, you gave a psychotic your address. Practically invited him in here.
What?
Your wife was so frightened about breaking up her marriage, so frightened of you, she started to feel guilty herself and kept that attack a secret for almost a month. And that's just what the hitchhiker counted on. Because he picks his victims through their husbands. Do you understand? Goodbye, Mr. Eberhardt.
Mary Sam 2, this is Mary Sam 1. Over.
Maybe something from Palm Springs.
Mary Sam 2 to Mary Sam 1, go ahead.
Mary Sam 1 to Mary Sam 2. We have a make on the hitchhiker from Newport Beach. Positively identified by truck driver approximately 1 hour ago. And probably headed this way on Coast Highway. Over.
Mary Sam 2 to Mary Sam 1. Alert all stations. We'll be right in.
Roger.
Over and out. Let's change direction. Something's up. First time he's done that in the past 3 months. Why?
By the following morning, Friday, March 10th, the police had set up roadblocks at various points on highways leading into Los Angeles.
Take you to school just as soon as the man gets here.
Phyllis,
What are you doing here? I thought you were going to send someone.
I want to talk with you.
I don't want to talk with you. Where are my things?
I left them at home.
Well, you just go right back there and get them.
Phyllis, I want you to come back with me.
After what you said to me yesterday? What do you think I am?
You're my wife.
Not for long.
Johnny? Wouldn't you like to come home, you and your mother?
Look, you leave him out of this.
But, Johnny, I want to talk with you. Johnny, it's my fault that your mother took you out of the house last night and brought you here to sleep. Johnny, do you know how it is when you do things all wrong sometimes? And then you're sorry because you didn't realize what you were doing?
Yeah?
Well, daddies can do wrong things, too. Terrible wrong things. Because they don't realize what they're doing. Because they're selfish and stupid and jealous. And your daddy's sorry for what he did to you and your mommy. And he knows he doesn't deserve to be forgiven, but he'd like another chance. Because he loves you. And he loves your mother.
Mommy, I don't understand everything that happened. But I think we ought to forgive Daddy.
Do you, Johnny?
Yes. I want to go home, Mommy.
So do I.
What do you mean you lost him in San Pedro? What's his name, Houdini? Cover every highway, gas station, motel in the area. Especially the coast highway, US 101, traffic moving north.
Johnny's waiting in the car for you to take him to school.
Don't make a move until I get back.
Don't you worry. After I walk you to the car, I won't even breathe.
Check San Pedro again.
Right. Report from the registrar of the Boston University Medical School. One you've been waiting for.
Student answering description was in attendance last year, is not presently enrolled. Name is Arthur Honegger, 24. Had been questioned by Boston police in connection with petty thefts and misdemeanors at medical school, but was released. No evidence of his guilt. That's not much help, is it?
Well, there's more.
Yeah, Honegger's parents died soon after his birth. He was brought up by his sister 10 years. His senior, an artist. Although married, the sister had a wide circle of male companions with Honegger, whom Honegger doubtless resented deeply. In August of last year, his sister ran away with another boyfriend and disappeared, leaving him completely alone. It is thought that this was a major blow to his stability. It's probably the reason he dropped out of medical school.
What do you make of it, Price?
A guy like that who was brought up by an artist and who understood paintings very probably realized who made that sketch of them if he saw it.
And come back out of revenge. That's why he changed his direction. He must have seen that sketch. He couldn't have missed it.
Larry, call Garcia and Cavelli in Oxnard. Tell them to meet us at the Malibu gate. One thing I never thought I'd be thankful for, Mrs. Eberhard leaving home.
You're not only talented, you're pretty. You know that, Mrs. Eberhard?
What do you want? Why did you come back?
Oh, I merely wanted to tell you how much I enjoyed that sketch of me you made.
I didn't. I swear I didn't.
Please don't lie to me, Mrs. Eberhard. I dislike lies. I lived my whole life with a woman who lied and cheated. My sister was a talented artist and a beautiful woman. Like you. Beautiful woman.
Out the beach door. What's Mrs. Eberhard's car doing here?
Yeah. Wait here. I'll go around the back.
Don't come any closer, or I'll kill her.
Vince. He's here. He's got Mrs. Eberhard. Bring your rifle, quick.
Hey! What's going on?
Where's Phyllis? The hitchhiker's got her. Come on.
Easy.
You're not just going to stand here, are you? Get her away from him.
Calm down, calm down. If we try following him now, he'll kill her.
If I could just get a clear shot.
I'm going after him.
Everhart. One wrong move right now, and he'll kill your wife.
You just can't stand here.
All right, now listen to me. I've got something I want you to do. That man out there is a psychotic. He hates married women. If anything goes wrong with the marriage, he thinks it's a woman's fault. Now, do you think you can go out there and convince him that he's wrong? Can you keep talking to him? Can you try to convince him that it's a husband's fault? Do you think you can do that?
I'll try.
All right. Now move out there slowly. Keep them covered, Vince.
Hey, wait a minute. I want to talk. Stop!
Or I swear I'll kill your wife.
Frank.
Look, I can't hurt you. I haven't got a gun.
Get away.
Look, kid, it's me you ought to kill. I mean, I'm the husband. She had nothing to do with it. I made her marry me.
Frank, go back.
Look, it was my ring you stole. It was my ties that you used. She had nothing to do with it. It's the husband you ought to kill. You know that.
What?
Don't you understand? It's the man who's to blame.
It was my sister's fault.
No.
It was.
No, it's always the man's fault. You know that. Come on, get me. Come on, Rod, Newton, whatever your name is. I have no gun, there's no knife, I can't hurt you. Come on, get me. Come on. It's me you ought to kill. Come on, come on.
Yes.
He's the man that made it possible.
Phyllis? Phyllis, are you sure you're all right?
Yeah. Are you?
Yes.
You know, you took a terrible chance back there. You could have been killed.
It's the least a guy can do for his wife, isn't it?
Joe, call the coroner's office. Tell him to come out and take care of him. Okay, Brent. Now maybe we can all get some sleep.
I don't think my bed will recognize me anymore.
The death of the hitchhiker made the headlines in all the Los Angeles newspapers that afternoon. But no information was revealed about the victims of the crime. This was a case in which two of the victims, Frank and Phyllis Everhart, were brought together to a new and more mature understanding of each other, with the help of Price Adams and the Metropolitan Squad. They are men of the new breed. a New Breed, has been brought to you by